What's good, YouTube? It's West Guy Jordan. In today's video, I got 10 tips for mixing vocals in 2021. Not necessarily tips and tricks on like how to mix, but it's more like advice. So let's get into the video. The first tip I got for you is to learn how to commit to a mix or create a decision. This is very important because a lot of people often are too wishy-washy. They don't have like an end goal in mind when they start mixing. They just mixing without a plan, and that right there is going to waste you a lot of time. You're probably going to never finish the mix. And also, when it comes to creative decisions, these are things that go against the quote-unquote industry rules or the standard rules that the old heads like to preach so much. It's like, if you want a dirty vocal, you can have a dirty vocal. That's a creative decision, and that will eventually become a part of your sound if all your vocals have a dirty sound to it, you know. But if you want your shit to be clean and your shit is dirty, you need to figure out how to clean that shit up. I'm just saying. But listen, learn how to commit. That's a lot of people's problem. They can't commit to certain things. And if you want to be a good engineer, you want to build a consistent sound as a rapper, you have to always have like an end goal in mind on what you want this shit to be like. You got to commit to the mix. So like when you're recording, you have to commit to how this shit is going to be before it gets mixed. So commitment relies on you, right? The rapper, you, the engineer, you, the producer. The creative decisions rely on you. So you have to commit to that shit. So if you're going to do something, you got to stand on it. So it's like, if you're going to put the vocals off beat a little bit and you did that shit on purpose, you got to stand on it. When people like, why is this shit off beat? This nigga couldn't catch the beat. It's like, bro, I moved it off beat for a reason because I wanted it to be off beat. You know what I'm saying? So learn how to stand on that. You got to learn how to commit. So like step one, commitment. Learn how to commit. The second tip I got for you is about feedback. Stop looking for too much feedback. Too much feedback will have you fucking up your song at some point, or not even putting the song out, because you might ask somebody that's an engineer nerd. They know all the technical shit, whatever, and the technical shit like conflicts with the creative, the artistic shit sometimes, because people want to be too technical. You know what I'm saying? Too fucking technical, and it fucks up the song when the shit was just cool the way it was the first time. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you get feedback from too many people, people are gonna tell you what they would have done, how to do this, what you should try to do, and do all this other shit, and it might fuck up your song. That's what I'm saying. Like, too many people, and it goes back to like having an end goal in mind with the commitment part. So once you commit to something, commit to that one thing and just tweak certain things to make that thing that you're doing better. But if you're going to get advice for a hip-hop song, for hip-hop vocals, don't run to somebody that mixes country and try to get feedback from them, because they're pretty much dealing with a lot of country shit. But country and rap shit is like two different things. You know what I'm saying? So you kind of want to be careful who you getting feedback from and how much of it you want to take and apply to your own shit. The third tip I got for you is to learn how to use EQ. This is the most important part of like mixing for real, because the EQ can help you shape and sculpt out certain parts of the vocal that make it sound a certain way. You know, you want a telephone effect, cool. You want to sound a little boxy, cool. You want to add a little bit more air, cool. You want to take away air, cool. You want to add more low end, cool. You want to take away low end, cool. A little mid range, whatever. You can EQ the vocal, kind of shape it a certain way. But the thing with EQ settings, it won't change your voice into somebody else's, right? There's no plugin that's gonna change your voice into somebody else's voice that's not even similar or close to your voice. But the EQ allows you to manipulate the vocal. Sometimes you can EQ a vocal where you don't even have to add like a lot of compression. You know what I'm saying? You can just make the vocals jump out just by EQing a certain way or correctly. You know what I'm saying? Like, EQ will be your best friend. So if you struggle with EQ, read articles about EQ, get an EQ, learn what each knob does on the EQ, learn each frequency, learn what subtraction, additive EQ, learn what all of that is. You know what I'm saying? Learn it. I said subtraction when I should have said subtractive, but you get what I'm saying. Learn how to EQ. The fourth tip I got for you is to accept the fact that settings will change. You will not use the same exact settings every single time. Depending on the type of artist you're working with, you're gonna have to adjust them settings. You might get a session sent to you to mix, and those aren't the settings that you use all the time. And then if you go and try to use the same settings you use all the time, it may not work. It may work. All of the time, it's not gonna work. All right, so that's just what it is. So when it comes to templates and shit, man, you need to understand the same settings will not work for every single body. You have to learn how to adapt and change settings. You know, for one, EQ settings will change on the voices. Just because you use a certain EQ on your voice with a certain setting, it's not gonna work for the next 10 people. It might work for the 11th person after the 10 people, but it's not gonna work for everybody. So understand the process. So this is what you gotta understand. It's like you gotta figure out what's gonna be your process. Are you gonna EQ first, then add compression? Or you're gonna do some compression, then do some subtractive, then do additive EQ, then DS, then get to your special effects? Like, what is gonna be your process? Because a process is better than just automatically just jumping in importing settings all the single time. You know what I'm saying? So what is your process? Find out a process. If you don't have a process, create one. Create multiple until you figure out which one works better for you, which process allows you to get the best mix. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, like find a process. The 5th tip I got for you is to not rush. Whenever you mixing a song, do not rush. Don't tell people a 24-hour turnaround if you cannot do a 24-hour turnaround quickly or just on point and have everything perfect. Don't do that. Don't force yourself to do that. Like, if you just started mixing yesterday, last week, 6 months ago, don't be telling people you'll do a 3-hour turnaround. Don't do that shit. Don't do it, because you only making yourself feel like you're getting better when you're not really getting better. You're basically just rushing. You know what I'm saying? Take your time. Like, you can't force yourself to bake cookies faster than it takes the cookies to bake. You know what I'm saying? If you turn the oven up a little bit too high, you're gonna fuck up the cookies. You know what I'm saying? Like, you might burn the cookies. They still might be undercooked in some places. Like don't rush. Take your fucking time. Tip number 6, do not mix when you're tired. When you're tired, you get to making bad decisions. When your ears are tired, everything sounds fucking amazing, or the shit is just gonna sound horrible, and that's gonna fuck up the mix in the long run. I don't want you fucking up your mixes. I don't want you fucking up a client's mix. I don't want you doing nothing that you wouldn't want nobody to do to you. You wouldn't want nobody to mix your shit when they tired as fuck and they just trying to just rush and do shit so they can go to sleep, or they just halfway sleep while they mixing the shit. Anyway, like, don't fucking rush. Don't mix when you tired. All that shit. Don't do that, please. Please. That's like one of the biggest tips I can give you. Pause. Don't mix when you tired. Do not do it. Don't do it. If you've been doing that shit, don't do it. Don't do it. Don't fucking do it. Tip number 7 is to apply useful knowledge. And what I mean by useful knowledge is shit that works for that song. All right. If you're getting like, if I don't care if you know how to do stutters and EQ and parallel compress and do all this extra shit, I don't care, right? Only use what you need to use for the song to make the song work. Sometimes you don't have to use parallel compression in the song to make the song work. You don't have to use it, so don't force it in there. Like, use shit that is useful to the song, that's beneficial to the song. Don't do shit just because you see somebody on YouTube or one of the famous engineers talk about this method and this, because I'm pretty sure they do not use that same method on every fucking song. They use that song for certain type of artists, right? They might have a favorite artist they like to work with, so they created this little method that works for this artist. It may not work for the next artist. They don't apply everything that they know to every song. And that's what you need to understand. Like, you can be the smartest person in the world, the most creative person in the world. Do what works. Like, do what fucking works. Like, don't overdo it. Don't nobody give a fuck what you know. You know, as long as the song works. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's at the end of the day. If the song works, people are good, the client is happy, it's good. You know what I'm saying? Like, just because you know shit don't mean you have to always do it. All right, and tip number 8, learn how to do more with less. And what I mean by that is you don't have to go crazy with 50 plugins in a session, 20 plugins in a session, 15 plugins in a session. Learn how to do more with less. Learn how to do it. Like, you don't need 4 EQs on a vocal. You don't need 4 compressors on a vocal. You don't need all that shit. Like, that shit that you don't need. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you got an EQ for additive and subtractive, that's cool. In some cases, people combine the additive and the subtractive together into one EQ. So that's one fucking plugin instead of being 2 plugins. You know what I'm saying? Like, if niggas are using compression, that's cool. Sometimes niggas might use 2 compressors. That's cool. It might work for that song. But you don't need to add 4 compressors. on the same vocal. If you're gonna use 4 compressors, spread that shit out. Use auxes, use buses, whatever the fuck you want to call them. Use them shits. Like, don't just stack plugins for the fact that you can stack a lot of plugins. Because if you got one plugin that's on here doing the same thing that another plugin that's doing the same thing, that's doing another thing that another plugin is doing, it's wasting fucking time, burning up CPU, all this shit. Learn how to do more with less. You know, like, just your computer will thank you, your mix will thank you, shit will sound naturally. You won't have to think too fucking much. Just learn how to do more or less, because once you learn how to do more or less, you can get a great mix with less plugins. Shit, you're already better than half these niggas on YouTube. Tip number 9 is stay organized. You have to learn how to stay organized. So in your session, regardless if it's gonna take a little extra time or whatever, be organized. Color code your tracks, right? Color code the hooks, organize the hooks, put everything together, name them, the lead, the dub, the back end, the left, the right, extra reverb here, I did this here, did that there. Stay organized. Like, put everything together, organize your session, stay organized. Because if you need to go and find something instantly in the session, you don't want to have to be browsing and going through left and right, looking up and down, trying to figure out what the fuck is there, what's missing, what's not, what'd you do here, can't remember. Like, stay organized. If you doing rough mixes and they want like another draft or something, did save it. Save one copy as rough draft A, rough draft B, C, D, blah 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 blah. When you send it off to them, they be like, oh, I kind of like what you did on C, can you kind of do the same, add this same effect that you did in C on the one in B, and then we'll be cool, or some shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it helps you stay organized. It helps you keep up with the sessions and make sure your revisions and everything on point. Make sure you got all the files, you didn't delete nothing, you didn't mute nothing. Make sure, like, cause if you have to send the session out to somebody else because they want somebody else to finish the mix, cool. So the person that gets the session, they know what the fuck you did without them having to be like, what the fuck did they do? How they do this? What they do that? What's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Just stay organized. Take notes, all the other shit. Make sure you just organize, because that saves you time in the long run, and your clients will appreciate it, and they will probably come back to you because they're like, oh, he's very professional, he's organized, like he did everything like so fucking like professional. You know what I'm saying? Like, stay organized. And the last and final tip I got for you is to save. Fucking save. You don't want to be the tracking engineer that recorded a whole session, computer fucked up, froze up, and you lost the session. That's just bad for business. You don't want to be spending hours and hours and hours mixing on a song and you didn't save it, and then like, you just fucked, and then you got to go back and spend hours and hours and hours and hours trying to recreate some shit that you already did that you shouldn't have to worry about because you should have fucking saved. Like, recording engineers, if you don't save the fucking takes or record the takes, you fucking up, man. Always save. If you're on Mac, man, Command S, man. That's your best fucking friend. Save. Fucking save. I can't stress this enough. If you're mixing, recording, mastering, whatever the fuck you're doing, if you're dealing with a DAW, fucking save. Learn how to save often, every fucking minute. I don't care. Every 5 minutes. I don't care. Just save. Make sure you're saving. Get into the habit of saving often. You know, you don't have to save every 10 minutes or whatever, but make sure you save at least 3 times during the session. So, you know, these are just some tips, some life hacks, some life lessons, some whatever the fuck it is you want to call it. But this is some shit that I felt like I had to get off my chest to talk to you, because some of y'all probably needed to hear some of this shit. But listen, make sure you like, comment, subscribe to the channel. This is your boy Jordxn. I'm out of here. Cool.